inspiring interviews with today's top landlords. This is the Rental Income Podcast. And now, Dan Lane.
My guest on the podcast today is doing something that's really pretty unique. He lives over 1,000 miles away from his rental properties, and he rents them out by the room. So not only is he dealing with any repair stuff from out of town, but he's also managing a whole bunch of tenants from another city. So I want to see how this is working out, how he makes everything work, and we'll get into some of the numbers. So let's take a really quick break. We'll thank our sponsors. We'll come right back and we'll talk to Ryan Deasy from Houston. The first step in buying a rental property is to get pre-qualified. And I would suggest you work with a lender that specializes in working with investors, because the last thing you want to have happen is to get to closing and find out the money's not there and you can't close. The lender that I recommend is Chaley Ridge from Ridge Lending Group. She's a nationwide lender and she'll pre-qualify you for free if you mention Rental Income Podcast. Find out more today. Contact Chaley at ridgelendinggroup.com. That's RIDGE. lendinggroup.com. NMLS 42056. Are you looking for actionable steps to create wealth and passive income? As a top-ranked business and investing podcast with over 800 five-star reviews, the Passive Real Estate Investing Show is packed with strategies and insight for putting money in your pocket. Marco Santarelli from Narada Real Estate Investments brings his expertise and knowledge on both passive and turnkey real estate investing, and he provides listeners with helpful tools and tips to create the wealth you've always wanted. Head over to iTunes or Google Play today and subscribe to Passive Real Estate Investing Podcast, or visit passiverealestateinvesting.com. That's passiverealestateinvesting.com. Hey, Ryan, welcome to the podcast. So you live in Houston, but your rentals are in Connecticut. How did that happen?
Hey, Dan. Yeah, thanks for having me on here, first of all. Yeah, I do live in Houston. My rentals are in Connecticut. I lived in Connecticut for about 30 years of my life. I've been down in Houston for the last 3.
Okay.
To be completely honest with you, my girlfriend got a job in Houston, and I decided to pick up and follow her.
Okay.
And it was a massive, massive transition for me and my whole real estate career, so to speak. But like I tell everybody, it's been a real blessing.
So you had the rentals in Connecticut and then you moved. So it wasn't like you bought them from Houston.
I actually had 2 when I moved, and since being in Houston, I've bought 2 more in Connecticut.
Awesome. Now, with being so far away, I mean, that's like a plane ride away, not like a quick drive. Did you ever think about getting a property manager to manage the properties?
Yes, I absolutely did. When I first moved down here, I really kind of freaked out, and I just was trying to figure out, what the heck am I going to do? Like these rentals are so important to me. They're such a big part of my life. I can't manage these from 1,500 miles away.
Right.
So I vetted a few different property managers in Connecticut, and to their credit, they're just great. They're absolutely fantastic, but it just didn't feel right to me. I'm really glad that I decided to manage myself.
All right. So say I'm one of your tenants and the refrigerator isn't working, and I call you up and I say, Ryan, the refrigerator's not working. You got to get someone over here to fix that. Do you have someone that you're going to call? Or are you at that point, are you going to just go online and find an appliance repair person to send over?
I've got everybody.
Okay.
At this point, I've got everybody. Yep. So, I've got an appliance repair person I would call, and he would be over probably same day.
Okay. And so he'll go over and fix everything, and then he'll just bill your credit card or send you a bill or something?
Exactly.
Okay.
Yep.
Awesome. Now, one thing that I think complicates this a little bit more, in my head at least, is that you're not renting out your properties to one tenant. You're renting it out by the room, so you have multiple tenants in every property. Does that make it more difficult?
For the amount of work that is extra renting by the room versus, how much more rent I'm getting, there's just no question that it's worth it.
So let's talk about this. Let's get into the numbers a little bit. So you've got 4 properties, you've got 29 tenants, so 29 rooms. Let's talk about one of the properties. How much is your mortgage payment on that property?
Yeah, absolutely. So I actually just refinanced this one, so it's pretty fresh. So the mortgage payment is $1,950.
$1,950. And then how much are you renting each room for?
Approximately $500.
Okay, and how
it's $500 to $525, but for sake of round numbers, we'll call it $500.
Okay, and how many rooms do you have in the property?
There's actually 10 in that one.
10. Okay, so you've got $5,000 a month in rent, and then your mortgage payment is $1,950.
Correct.
That's incredible. Now, if you were to rent that out to a single tenant, how much do you think you would be able to rent that property for?
I think that each unit in the area that I'm investing in Central Connecticut, I would say $1,000 per unit, and there's 3 units. So
3,000. So you're getting 3,000 versus 5,000. So this is a triplex.
Yes.
Okay. So wow. So I mean, you're getting almost double the rent by doing this.
Yes, correct.
Wow,
Yes.
That is really awesome. Now, what about matching up personality types? Is that something that you're looking for? So if you have a librarian and you have the drummer of a band, do you look at that when you're going to place someone that, hey, these 2 personality types might not get along that well?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah. So one of the things that I say this whole thing takes is quote unquote finesse. You kind of have to have finesse in placing people in appropriate units with others that you think are probably like-minded, right? So one thing, personality, second thing, age. Somebody that's 20, 25 who kind of likes to go out on weekends is not going to want to live with someone who's 50, kind of keeps to themselves, has a full-time career, just kind of is, plugging along in their 9 to 5, doesn't want to get woken up at, 2:30 when the bar's let out, that kind of thing.
Right.
So that is super, super important. And so I kind of steer, like-minded people to appropriate units.
Right. So if you were local, I feel like that would be really easy to do because you could meet someone and kind of get an idea of their personality. But being that you're not actually meeting these people, how do you do that?
So I will admit that I did luck out in having my brother. He lives at one of my properties, and he does help me with a lot of the showings.
Okay.
So he will do most of the showings. I have had plenty of times where I've had other tenants show the property or show another room in their unit, and I'm more than happy to pay them $15 or $20 for each showing, plus a $25 or $50 bonus. If the prospective tenant does move in. But I do have my brother show most times, and he'll do a showing. I'll text him, hey, how'd it go? We'll do a quick phone call, and he'll say, I think maybe not a good fit, to be honest, or this guy was so nice, super down to earth,
right,
just a hard worker. So that's really important, is to kind of get a feedback on the face-to-face interaction.
Yeah, I mean, because one person really can change the whole dynamic of the house. I mean, I when I was younger, I definitely lived with roommates, both as a house hack and as a tenant. And whenever there was a turnover, when someone would leave and someone else would replace them, a lot of times that one person could really change the whole dynamic of the property. So do you find that ever happens, or are you not even really worried about that?
No, I've had that happen.
Okay.
Sure. I'm totally, completely guilty of having a vacancy and being like, oh man, I missed that extra $500. Let's just get somebody in there, right?
Right.
And then I make the mistake of getting somebody in there, maybe not doing all the due diligence that I usually do, and just being like, oh yeah, no, he sounds good, or he or she sounds good, and let's get him in there.
Mm-hmm.
So this actually happened recently at another property, and one of my female tenants had a boyfriend that was not a very kind person, and he actually ended up driving the other two out. Okay. And that's something that you really want to, you know what, in hindsight, it would have been hard to check for, but it's one of those things that you want to be extra careful about. Mm-hmm. Do not ever just put somebody in there for the sake of getting, that rental income back, because, you could be looking at, 60 or 30 or 60 days down the road, having lost even more than you've gained.
Sure. I mean, that's a good lesson, renting by the room or even renting the property out as a whole. If you get the wrong tenant in there, that can really cause you a lot of problems. Now, what about other expenses? So I assume that you're providing the furniture in the common area. Is that right? Do you provide some basic level of furniture?
Two of my properties are fully furnished. The other two are not.
Okay.
To be completely honest with you, it hasn't made a difference.
Okay.
And so going forward, I do not plan on probably ever furnishing the property again. I mean, to be honest, people mostly stick to their bedrooms. They get a private bedroom, but the catch is that you're sharing a kitchen, living room, and a bathroom, right?
Right.
So, I mean, people really don't care, to be honest.
Yeah.
I mean, most people have a bed, maybe they've got a bureau and a nightstand, but that's it. And they don't really care about a kitchen table.
Right.
They're not sitting around, having dinner together because I literally maybe once or twice have ever had somebody that's actually friends with another person live together. Mm-hmm. It's usually 2, 3, 4 people that don't know each other. So they're probably not going to be sitting around a table or sitting watching TV in the living room. That really hasn't made much of an effect. So, in calculating the expense of furnishing a place, obviously it's really not worth it.
Yeah. What about utilities? Do you pay the utilities?
No.
Okay.
Actually, I don't. I don't pay the utilities. I do bill back. So, I'll go on, the gas, the natural gas website or the electric company's website, and I'll calculate for the month what the cost is and divide it by 3.
Okay.
Right. There's usually 3 people in each unit, so that's how I calculate it back, and then I'll shoot out a text message. Hey guys, this is what the gas bill was. This is what the electric bill was. This is what the internet bill was. Please pay accordingly.
Is that a lot to keep track of? Do you feel like that adds to your work?
Yes, it does.
Yeah.
Yes, 100%. Yes. That's something that takes a good chunk of the particular day that I choose to do it.
Yeah. I wonder, do you think it might be easier if you just figured out the average of what the bills are and you just added on a flat fee? So the rent's $500, utilities are $150.
That's so funny you say that. I will fully admit that I've been kicking around that idea. My problem is that there are a few units that I have that, they like to keep the thermostat at 80 in the winter.
Yeah.
And their bill is multiples higher than everybody else's. And to be honest, I don't really feel like getting taken advantage of in that regard.
Yeah.
So I've kicked around a couple different ideas, but for now it is working, but it's something that in the future I may change. If I do continue to, acquire units and bill back like I am now, actually what I think I'm going to do is go the virtual assistant route, mm-hmm. and have that VA cover some of these tasks that I'm doing that take time.
Yeah, I think that might be something to look into, because if you were to bill people, to include the utilities in the rent, you might be able to make a profit on it. So if it's $150 a month on average, if you make it $200 a month, you might be able to make an extra $50, and that might make up for the people that maybe take advantage of you a little bit.
Exactly.
Yeah, it might be something to look into. Do you do leases or is it all month to month?
No, everything is leased. Everything
Okay.
is leased up. Yeah. So what I always do is I prefer to do 1 year leases, right? Standard year lease. I will be flexible. I can go down to something like 6 months. I don't like to go anything lower than that, but I do sometimes because in my experience in Connecticut versus Texas, we'll do pretty much any length of lease. But Connecticut's like, you bet, if you don't do 1 year, we're not renting to you. So I will be that guy that, can be flexible. We'll do 3, 6, 9 months, if needed. But again, I do like to do 1 year.
Okay. Now, tell me about your most recent property. So you just did a burr remotely. How did you do that? Like, walk me through finding the property and dealing with the contractors and doing the rehab.
Yeah, that man, what an experience. A good one, but a stressful one. And certainly not to deter anybody because it's certainly doable. But I found it on Realtor.com.
Okay.
It was a property that had been foreclosed on and was in complete disrepair. Right. So I bought it only looking at the 15 or 20 pictures that were online. I did have my brother, same brother that I referenced before. He's an agent, so he did go over and kind of give me the lowdown on it. But I gotta admit, when I saw it, 6 months later, I was like, oh no, what did I get myself into? Because the pictures were quite deceiving. So yeah, I did acquire that, last May. So I'm 1 year out now. I'm actually working on the refinance of it, which I'll get to. But so it was a foreclosure. I bought it with hard money. Basically 10% interest, 3.5 points. But it has been a great experience. I mean, I had a contractor that I found on Craigslist. Trusty old Craigslist has only steered me wrong a couple times. And he has been an absolute godsend. Seriously, he has really taken hold of the project and been very he's very communicative and has really spearheaded the operation. So I give him a lot of credit. He's made my life quite a bit easier. But originally the budget was $55,000. It was $55,000 for the budget, and I did end up kind of blowing that out of the water. But in the end, it actually is going to work out. But a couple of points I actually wanted to make. There was no electricity on the property. There was no water. It had been quote unquote winterized. Shortly after I took hold of the project, I proceeded to have basically all of my copper pipes ripped out of the house. And any pipes that weren't ripped out of the house were severely, bent and damaged. So that's obviously something I didn't account for.
Yeah.
And
how over budget did you go?
I think that I probably went about $20,000 over
Wow.
budget.
Okay.
And yeah, that kind of came out of my own pocket.
Yeah.
I kind of felt like I was hemorrhaging money there at the end, but it was stuff like that, that I couldn't have really foreseen.
Yeah.
But the point I would make to that would be make every effort to make it look like your property is occupied. So whether it be, leave a car in the driveway, a spare car, set up lights inside somehow, just something, because it was just, it was pitch black, right?
Yeah.
There's no street lights. There was no nothing. There was no cars. And they just went in, smashed a window, broke in, and just, ripped all the copper pipes out.
Wow. Now, did your insurance cover that?
No. Because it was like a rehab type coverage. And no, that was not covered at all. So that was, actually it only ended up being about $5,000, which is a lot, but it could have been worse.
Okay. So the policy you had didn't cover any kind of break-in?
Nope.
Like that was like
not.
an exclusion. Okay. Wow. That's
Right.
too bad. So, all right. So as far as anyone, 'cause I think this is a good piece of advice, whether someone is doing a rehab locally or, even if they have a vacant property. I mean, everyone has vacant properties from time to time. So make sure the lights are on, park a car in the driveway, possibly. Is there anything else that you might recommend people do to avoid this happening?
I think those are the biggest things.
Yeah.
I think somehow finagling having lights on in the property is the most important. People generally don't want to rob a house where that it's occupied,
Right.
and this was just a sitting duck.
Yeah.
I mean,
Was
thinking
it-
back, it couldn't have been easier.
Was it in a rougher neighborhood, or what was the neighborhood like?
So New Britain, where I invest as a whole, is probably a C,
Okay.
type area. This particular area is actually good where I am.
Okay.
But, that simply doesn't, deter
Yeah.
thieves well enough.
Absolutely. Well, Ryan, you've got a great business. I really think what you're doing is a great thing. If anyone has any questions or they want to reach out to you, what's a great way for someone to get in touch with you?
Website address is dcpropertygroup.com, and DC is spelled D as in David, EA, S as in Sam, Y, propertygroup.com. And the best way to reach me is by email, Ryan, RYAN, at dcpropertygroup.com.
If you want to look that up later on, I've got Ryan's information on my website. You can find it at rentalincomepodcast.com/episode 212. If this episode inspired you and you're ready to buy your first rental property or you want to add to your portfolio, the lender that I recommend is Chaley Ridge from Ridge Lending Group. She specializes in helping investors buy rental properties. She's got a ton of different loan programs, and she can help you get going. She can make sure you get the best rate and the best terms and find something that works for you with your unique situation. You can find out more at ridgelendinggroup.com. That's RIDGE, lendinggroup.com, NMLS 42056. And if you mention Rental Income Podcast, she will waive all of the pre-qualification fees. I also want to thank AutoSlash for sponsoring today's episode. If you're looking to book a rental car, but you don't want to be in the deal hunting business, you should really check out AutoSlash. It's totally free, and the way that it works is AutoSlash will find you the best rate possible on your car rental. It'll find every available promo code, every available discount, and make sure that you're getting the best rate possible. Their average user saves 30% off the rate that they find on any other car rental site. And what's really great about AutoSlash is after you book your reservation, they continue to work for you. And if they find a better rate, they'll email you. You can cancel the first reservation with no penalty and rebook a new reservation at the lower rate. It's totally free. There's no catch. There's no gotcha. This is a totally free service, and AutoSlash is dedicated to making sure that you're getting the best rate possible on your car rentals. You can check it out right now. Just go to autoslash.com. That's autoslash.com. Thank you so much for listening to the podcast. I really appreciate it. If this is your first time here, make sure you subscribe and you'll get a new episode delivered to you automatically every single Tuesday. My name is Dan Lane, and this has been the Rental Income Podcast.